Every Tuesday, the #1 interactive pageant talk show, Pageant Live. This is the place for glamour and style. Get great pageant tips you won't find anywhere else. Find out what you need to know before your next pageant. Post your questions and comments for our panel during the show. Learn great ideas about all aspects of pageantry. Watch live every Tuesday at PageantLIVE.com.
And I think what we're going to do first, we're going to switch it up, and we are going to do a little 30 to 60 second pointer on how to ace an interview, so we can get that done real quick. And what is really we're looking for is just your tips. It could be anything that you want to say about just feedback on what you did in interviews, or if you competed in more than one system, if you have something to compare, if one system did something that another didn't, you can tell us that. So I think, Jacob, are you ready to start that?
Yeah, and let me tell everyone, what this is designed is that it's someone who's never competed in your system, or it's even geared to people who have never competed at all. Everybody wants to know how to ace that interview, because that is such a large portion of any pageant. So, just a tip that you can give, and then hopefully, people watch us, and, they're going to go in that system or whatever, and, they'll learn something new. So it's kind of, we're going to call pageant tips, and it's called acing the interview. So who would you like to go first, Paige?
Anyone that has something ready? I think we'll start with Stephanie McGreen for the first one.
Okay, well, my tip for acing the interview is to have as many mock interview practices that you possibly can have before you go to compete at your actual pageant. So important to get feedback from other people judging you, things that you may not be aware of that you're doing or that you need to do. So important. Before I competed at America's Super Pageant, I took part in a mock interview, and let me tell you, some of the same questions were asked of me. I was so nervous going into that mock interview, but I was less nervous going into the actual interview at America's Super Pageant after having gone through the mock interview. So I think it's so beneficial, and you can learn so much about yourself and how to just polish yourself and improve yourself. So definitely set up some mock interviews.
Okay, that was good 60 seconds.
Stephanie, may I ask you something now? So if you don't have anyone to practice with, would you recommend just get in the mirror and see what you look like when you're talking or asking a question or something of that nature?
Absolutely. I think it would be also beneficial to videotape yourself. I know that I've watched myself on camera, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm blinking way too much, I'm shaking my head, I'm doing just little things that you're not even aware of that you're doing until you actually see yourself doing them. So anything you can do to help, to give yourself the knowledge, awareness of how you're coming across to others, I think is so important.
Yep.
Great, thank you. Paige, you want to be next?
By a couple seconds.
I think we can go to Kelly next. I think she's ready.
Okay, perfect.
I think one of the biggest things is knowing your paperwork, but when it's who you are, it's going to shine through. I think being genuine and making sure that when you answer your paperwork that it's error-free is a huge one. I know when I judge pageants, it's one of my pet peeves when I see spelling mistakes or mistakes on it where you're just thinking, if somebody had taken the time to go over this, it wouldn't be there. And I think that shows that you're prepared and show that you care. I think another thing is videotaping yourself or recording yourself to see there might be certain words that you use over and over again. One of mine used to be, I used to say all the time, and it wasn't until somebody told me and I recorded it that I was able to see that. I think the other thing is making sure that you're updated on current events. I think staying informed is really important. Making sure that when you go in there, you know what's going on in the world is important. And I think even practicing in your interview attire. Sometimes the first time people put on their interview attire for more than 2 minutes to try it on is when they walk into the interview. I think it gets you in the zone, and I think it prepares you for the real life.
Seconds.
Done.
Perfect. Thank you. That was great.
Thank you so much, Kelly. That's very, very helpful. And I think next we'll go to Amy and Amanda Short real quick.
All right, so I have 10, and I'm just going to rattle them off. Face towards your interviewer, so don't, like, you can be sitting like this way, and I'm talking to Amy, so don't go like this, like, actually face toward them. Have a lot of eye contact, and I know that's, like, a duh one, but you'd be surprised how even I still don't even use eye contact a little bit, or, like, I'll go off on a little tangent, I'll be like, talking to this guy, you know? And know everything about anything that you're involved in. So if anything that they could ask you a question about, know everything about that. Know why you want to win. And that seems to be a very common question. Why do you want to win the title? And know why, because they will ask you that almost 90% of the time. Have some sort of platform that you can be prepared to talk about, because there's a really good chance that they'll ask you about that as well.
60 seconds.
Oh, sorry, keep on going. How many more?
They'll ask the role model question about, like, who your role model is, or if you could have dinner with somebody, who would it be? Be able to answer something like that to where you can say who someone you look up to as, or someone inspiring to you. Have a plan for what you want to do with your life, so that you can kind of be able to tell them, because they'll ask you about that as well. Be natural and be yourself, and never drop your smile. You never know if any other judges are watching. Even though you're answering a question for a specific judge, other judges could get bored with other girls and start watching you. So.
That's great. Is that both you girls'?
No, I'm old school with my paper here.
Well, she can take
Okay.
Got a fancy old iPhone out.
Go ahead.
I think that for like a one-on-one interview, that you should sit up straight so that you can show that you have great posture and poise. And sit at the very tip of your chair. That way it's easy to sit down and to exit when you have your interview. And don't play with yourself. Because, like, you have your hands in your lap, trying to move your hands. And I've seen Amanda do this. She starts moving her shoulders around. And she's looked around the room a few times. But you should definitely answer your question with confidence. That way you'll always know that you have made the right answer. And you'll never regret what you said.
Your answer should come from your heart.
Exactly. And don't shake their hands. Some of them are germaphobes.
Thank you. That was great.
So that was her end of her 60 seconds?
Yes.
Well, she can go, and they're in teens. They compete in teens.
Right.
So that was a good teen, tip.
Right. So now we can go to Trinity.
Okay, in our system we compete with a panel of judges, and we have 8 or 9 judges, and that's very, very intimidating sometimes for people. But what you do with the panel judge is one of them will ask you a question, and what I do is I answer that question, but I look at each and every judge every few seconds as I'm answering the question. And I try to stay very relaxed, and I try to stay very focused on the answer. But I look at each and every one of them and make that eye contact for maybe 10 seconds with each one of them during the panel. And another thing that I do is I'd be sure, like the girl said, I'd be sure and I sit up and I have very good posture, and I try to give as much confidence as I possibly can and let them know that, yes, this is the answer to that question. No matter what you think the answer is, this is the answer.
Good job.
Thank you.
All right.
And now we can go to Stephanie C.
Hey guys! Well, I competed in the USA system, and first of all, that system is very short with the interview. I think that the interview is like 2.5 minutes, so you don't have very much time to show the judges who you are. Also, throughout the interview, you have to know yourself and your bio, because all the answers and questions will come from the bio. And if you say something that's not true or something you don't know much about, then you're going to have a very hard time answering it. So you need to know that. Practice as much as possible. Another thing is that you have to be very natural. Don't freeze with a smile and don't look nervous. Just be yourself and just know that they are regular people. You're having a conversation with someone, and that's the most important thing to remember.
All right.
Thank you, Stephanie. And now we can go to Alexandra.
I also competed in the American Renaissance pageant with my mother, Trinity, and yeah, they have a lot of judges. I found it really interesting. They told us in the beginning not to shake their hands, and I never really found out why that was. The three top things that I asked myself before I walked into that room was, do I look professional, classy, and conservative? Because that's what the pageant asked for. Am I smiling? And am I walking in there like I am the next American Renaissance queen? Like, even before you sit down to talk, the judges are watching your every move. So if you walk in there with absolute confidence, like, yes, this is my time to shine, this is the data that I'm going to just take it on, then you're going to go in there with 100% more confidence than you think you are.
Thank you. And now I can do mine, I guess. So mine is InterviewWare. I have competed in the USA system as well as the International Junior Miss. And one thing that I think is very important is to research your pageant before you compete in that system, because they do look for two different things. So when I researched both of these pageants, I could see that International Junior Miss was a lot more conservative than USA. So when I went into that interview, I was sure to have on a suit jacket and a skirt that went down to my knees. I did have some embellishment, of course, to make it fun, but I was sure to be very conservative, where in the USA I wore a suit dress with like a more trendy type of jacket. So that's what I think is also important, is to know the system that you are competing in and what they are looking for in your interview. Be sure to like, comment, and add us on all of those platforms. And you can add me on Facebook, Paige Clark IJM. I hope all of you have a very happy and blessed Thanksgiving, and come back to our show anytime. All of you are welcome.